Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The race is on to be the next fighter to try get a faded Lucas Browne in the ring, to try spark him out, with David Price almost begging Eddie Hearn to set the Australian up for December 22nd on the Dillian Whyte vs TBA undercard. That TBA is expected to be Derek Chisora. So what I'll do is I'll step through what David Price is saying, Lucas Browne's response, where all the sleeves Dave Allen, who's been chasing a Browne fight for months, and seemingly Browne had been too. And then on to some thoughts, because this whole situation, when you throw in Adam Kownacki as well, it's like some sort of melodrama. It really is. And everyone is keen to be the next guy to try spark Browne out. And that's going to happen. Out of all three opponents, I think Browne probably comes off second best. Buckle in. Let's go. So the big man, David Price, who most recently lost to Sergey Kuzmin on the Joshua Povetkin undercard in September, he has said on his social media, I believe at Lucas Browne is offended that some fans want to see him fight me. At Eddie Hearn, I'll be ready for Deck 22 and you owe me a fight. Please let it be this. I'll do this fella right in. Must admit, that post from Twitter came out of left field, and there's a couple of things in there that I do find noteworthy. The bit about Lucas Browne being offended that some fans want the fight with Price. I'm not actually sure where he's getting that from, because I did a trawl or scoured on Browne's social media from the past week or two. Very few mentions of Price at all. Mostly stuff related to his upcoming fight on November 24th, a potential fight with Dave Allen in the UK, and that's been talked about for weeks and months, and then people just sending him well wishes, standard sort of stuff on various posts. But it wasn't the only curious statement that Price made. You probably heard there that he was almost demanding Eddie Hearn set the fight, saying Hearn owes him a fight. How exactly does Eddie Hearn owe him a fight? Can anyone tell me? Because my recollection from September was Price kind of owes Hearn a fight, not the other way around. Price pulled out injured after the fourth round. He promptly admitted he was injured heading into the fight and only took the fight for business reasons. And that was his words. It was a very poor look for Price, and as I said at the time, the calls to Price from Hearn, they may dry up. After all, with David Price being car crash TV, people want to see one of two things happen: for Price to capitulate again, or for him to overcome his demons and pull off an upset win by knockout. Not many people want to see him edging to some sort of points decision, or him pulling out of fights like he did back in September. Very poor look. People expect to see drama with David Price. That's why he's on a bill. He's not a top contender at the moment. People see him because it's car crash TV. You never know what's going to happen from 1 second to the next. That's the allure of a David Price fight. And I'll come to why I think Price is after Browne just a bit later. But first, let's take in Browne's response video that he's posted to his social media.
How we doing? I'd like everyone to remember that I am fighting November 24th in New Zealand against Junior Party. So there's no let's go over to UK and fight Allen or Price in December, because I'm also fighting in November. So it's not going to happen. The one that I do want to fight out of all three would be Kownacki. Now I'd rather go over to the USA, fight Kownacki. A much better fight. I think the fans would love that fight a lot more in January. After this, obviously, New Zealand fight. So there's a lot of talk about, obviously, David Allen. There's a lot of talk about now David Price that wants to shoot his mouth off. But my personal preference would be Kownacki. So, yeah, let's see how it works out. I've got a fight to get through first, so let's do that first. I never look past anyone. So November 24, New Zealand is first, Junior Party, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Now, that clip, it throws up more questions than it does answers. First one, is the December date, is it really out of the question? Lucas Browne, he's been parachuted into an event in New Zealand. It's taking place on November 24th. He'll be facing a 12-22 journeyman who's got a KO ratio of 17%. It's a low-risk opponent in the scheme of things. If he is able to get through that easily enough, then why is December the 22nd in the UK out of the question? He has, after all, been training for months now to get in better shape following his very poor showing against Dillian Whyte. He came in overweight and he was left motionless on the canvas. And coming into this official camp that he's holding ahead of his November 24th fight, that's going to be in Thailand, Browne has stated he's almost at a career low weight, 115 kilograms. His career low weight is 113. So for him, he's in shape right now and he's likely going to come in at a career low weight by the time of that next fight. And for more details on that upcoming fight with Junior Pati and also other elements of his comeback, I'll put a link up at the end of this video. That was a video I dropped the other week. So surely, if the money was good enough for a Price or Allen fight, surely he would at least consider it, right? Especially if he gets through November the 24th with very little damage. But perhaps the thing that he left unsaid in the video that he posted was he may not want to take any bigger money fights right now because he comes off contract with his promoter Ricky Hatton at the start of next year. And I would hazard a guess that that could well be a factor in wanting to wait for a fight, especially fights in the UK, until 2019. Come off contract with Hatton and take things from there. I mean, the next thing of note from Browne's curious response, his shunning of Price and Dave Allen in favour of Adam Kownacki. I mean, Price isn't so much of a surprise. He's just sort of entered the fray, just started making noise. But shunning Dave Allen, that is more of a surprise. Browne and the Doncaster De La Hoya, they've been having an online bromance of sorts for weeks and months now. They've openly been talking of their respect for each other, how they want to fight each other, let's make it happen, all this sort of stuff. The only thing that's missing has been the date. They've basically sort of, sewn it up and said, yeah, we're going to fight. But now Allen has been thrown the Kownacki curveball. To be fair to Browne, he did speak of Kownacki after beating Julius Long at the end of September, and Kownacki has stated publicly he's up for that challenge. He's willing to fight Lucas Browne. But Browne's comments of saying it's a much better fight than the Allen fight and fans would love it more. I mean, seriously, give me a break. That's just rubbish. That's about as credible as Eddie Hearn saying that boxing fans want a Chisora fight more than an Ortiz one. It's just not based in reality. As far as I can tell, Browne's fan base and casual support base is in two places, Australia and the United Kingdom. Browne has talked for months about coming back to the UK, making up for the Whyte fight, and he's spoken of all the UK support that he has and he can't wait to be back. He says the stuff all the time on his social media. But now he's looking to shun all of that for a fight in America. I don't actually think fans would love it more at all. I think most fans have got it in their minds that Browne was going to be fighting Dave Allen at some point next year, because that had been all the talk for, quite a long time now. So what are we to make of his statements? Well, there could be a few things at play. Kownacki, he's spoken of needing to have one or two more fights under his belt before he fights for a title. And I guess with the logjam with two champions, mandatories piling up and other contenders ahead of him, he's going to have to anyway. But he's welcomed Browne's call out that Browne made in September after the Long fight. And he's also spoken of Browne's former WBA title status as being something he'd like to add to his record. So we have to consider, perhaps there has been a little bit of movement here. Perhaps there's been some talks, and perhaps a Kownacki and Browne fight is actually in the works. Perhaps it is more than just some call-outs on social media. And Browne, he may actually fancy his chances against the Polish-American more than Allen and more than Price. And hear me out on this one. In Kownacki, while he's got an unbeaten guy in front of him, someone with some momentum, some good wins recently, in many respects, he's kind of like a younger version of Browne. About 10 years younger, someone who comes forward, no frills boxer, and good power. I suspect Browne will be looking at Kownacki thinking, perhaps I could land something game-changing on Kownacki, take him out. And he will have seen that Charles Martin, later in his fight with Kownacki, was able to land some very telling blows and put the hurt on. And Martin, it did look for a time in that, so was it the 10th round? I think it was the 10th round. Looked like he might take him out there for a minute. But my pick is, if this fight does happen, gets made at some point, and it probably is for 2019, if it was to happen, Kownacki probably sparks Browne out in a couple of rounds. I don't think that Browne is much chop anymore. I think Kownacki would roll through him in under 4 rounds. Another thing that we should maybe consider here as well is, has Dave Allen's first round win over Samir Nebo, has that potentially factored into Browne's change of heart? An Allen fight, it was on for all money a week ago because there was all this love and they were basically saying it was all done. They just need to settle on a date. Browne was calling for, to be on the Anthony Joshua undercard at Wembley. And then Allen scores that body shot knockout of Nebo in the first round in Newcastle. Perhaps Browne actually sees Allen now that he's on the improve and he doesn't look like the mark that he previously was in his career. I think Browne saw Allen as a sort of a target that he could take on, tough, durable, he'd be able to get through it, get the win. But I don't think it's that straightforward now. Dave Allen is taking things seriously now, and with Allen taking it seriously, maybe that's got Browne to reconsider. And why do I think that David Price wants the fight? Well, Browne, he's still got a degree of currency in the division, as I already mentioned. Kownacki mentioned it. He's only got the one loss to a top contender, and he's a former holder of a WBA strap. But as I've spoken about before, I think Browne is a knockout waiting to happen. And Price, he would have seen this too, and he will believe that he will be able to get to Browne first before Browne gets to him. And I have seen quite a few people say that the Australian wins here because Price is rinsed. But it's my strong belief Browne is thoroughly rinsed himself. And I'd back the bigger guy to catch Browne with something telling, early in the fight when Browne is coming in. And I'd note here as well, in that comeback fight against Julius Long, a faded Julius Long, who was 18-20 into that fight, he hurt Browne badly before Browne was able to stop him. And I think Price, he wouldn't let Browne off the hook. He'd be able to inflict much worse damage if he connects, much worse damage than Long. But one thing that Price has connected on was a light heavyweight who was trolling him on Twitter after his call out on Browne. So see on screen here. As you can see, Price was having none of it, tearing strips off the young fighter at the bottom there, telling him he's had a look at him and he thinks he's shite. Dave Allen, meanwhile, he's been pretty relaxed about this whole Lucas Browne change of heart. But I guess, he's on to bigger and better things. He's had that confidence win over Nick Webb. He's had this first round knockout of Samir Nebo. He's looking to fight in December, and they're going to run him like a proper prospect instead of feeding him to the wolves like he has been in the past. And Allen, he's still young, so he could develop, and who knows where he can go. Perhaps European level, but I don't see him getting to world level. Maybe that's why Browne has been trying to target Allen. But Allen, he might just be too much of a handful now. In another 6 months, perhaps, who knows where Dave Allen will be in terms of improvement. Whereas Lucas Browne, I firmly believe he is on the slide. He's a knockout waiting to happen. But in terms of Allen, of his social media, in this tweet here, he's saying, good luck to Lucas Browne. In this one here, good luck to Browne and also David Price. Another one down here at the bottom, Que sera, sera. So it doesn't really look like there's any hard feelings. And he has also stated that he's looking at a big fight for December, and he's indicating that he's targeting Canadian Dylan Carman. And Carman, he recently took the O of touted prospect Simon Keane. And that would be a good fight. Carman comes to fight. He likes to get involved in these sort of brawls and wars, and that'd be a fight I'd like to see. It'd be highly entertaining. What do you make of it all? Lucas Browne turning down David Price. What do you make of David Price sort of entering the frame? David Allen seems to be out in the cold with a Browne fight. And then you have Adam Kownacki, who Browne seemingly wants to target now, and he says it's the fight we all want to see. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.